Hey guys, this is Mitch with FinePoint CGI, and today we're going to talk about how to get speech to text inside of Godot. Now this is a really cool feature that allows you to literally speak to your phone and pull back the text that the person is speaking. So we're going to go through the process of downloading the add-on. We're going to compile the add-on because he doesn't actually have a release, though I did create one for us. Then we're going to go through the process of implementing that add-on and going through all the different signals and the different options you have here. And then we're going to go ahead and test it and have it work for us. So that's what I have in store for you guys today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to download this plugin by Abdullah called Speech to Text Android Godot. And we need to actually compile this plugin for it to work. Now, I've already compiled it and forked it and then did some changes and put out a pull request on it. It looks like he merged it recently, so you guys can either pull down his code and compile it, or you can just go ahead and grab my release right here. I will leave a link in the description below on the location of that release, so that way you guys can just download the AAB and the AAR and the GDAP file. Now, if you actually want to compile it, what we can do is we can go ahead and download the code. So we'll just go ahead and download ourselves a zip here. And if you don't care about this, just go ahead and skip to the Getting into Godot section. Now, if we go back to our downloads, right click, extract and extract it, and then we go ahead and open up our Android Studio. So Android Studio, and mine's probably going to pop up with a previous version of a project, but that's okay. So what we'll do is we'll go to File, Open, and then we will go find our speech to text Godot main, and we will hit OK. And it's going to go ahead and start loading this project here. And let me resize this for you so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. That'd be smart. So let me move this over here. All right, so the project's loading, so I will be right back. Okay, so the first thing that it's going to ask you is, hey, you have some... Okay, so you'll notice on the bottom right, I have a couple of notifications. Plugin update recommended. The Android Godot plugin is ready to be updated. That's just my own thing. And invalid VCS route mapping. So basically the directory is incorrect according to the Android Studio. You don't have to update it, but you can just by hitting configure and it'll automatically figure itself out. But that's... And you will see the invalid VCS route mapping. This is basically just your version control system route mapping. Don't worry about that since we just downloaded it. Now, what we can do if we want to take a quick tour here, if we want to do any changes to the speech to text system, we can actually just come down here to our Java and then come to our speech to text. And then here's our actual code that is ran with speech to text. You can actually see how it super Godot's here, so we can actually, use the Godot engine. We have a bunch of RMS changes and some logs and things like that for when you're doing your actual speech to text. And we actually have our different plugin methods here. So if we wanted to add a plugin method, we could actually add it here and then add a function down here and be able to call it with Godot. So that's something really cool about compiling this yourself. Now, what you can do is if you don't really care about adding anything special, you can actually just click this little icon right here and it will go ahead and build the project. So you'll see down here on the bottom right, it is Godot building right here. So we're going to let that run through and we will be right back. All right, so now that it's completed, let's go ahead and go out to my downloads folder where my project's located. We'll go ahead and double click on our speech to text Android Godot main. We will go ahead and go into our speech to text. We're going to go into our build and our outputs, AAR, and you will see here is our debug AAR. Now we need this, plus we need our GDAP file, which is bundled right in the main speech to text location right here. So we can just copy that and then go back to our speech to text, build outputs, AAR, and we could just paste that in there. So now we just have both. And then we can basically just copy this and put it into our project. And then from there, we can just use our AR file like a regular plugin. So let's jump into Godot and let's go ahead and get started on building out our speech speech to text system. Okay, so now that I'm inside of Godot, we need to do a few things. And I know a lot of you guys have seen a lot of my tutorials, so I'm sure you're going to go, yeah, I know. But we do need to add our Android build template. So go ahead and go to Project, install Android build template, and go ahead and install that. You'll see it's going to uncompress our build sources. And then we need to right click, open in File Manager, and go ahead and go to our Android plugins and paste in our GDAP file and our AAR file. This is very important. The GDAP file tells Godot what the AAR file is, and the AAR file is the Android archive resource file that is all of our code. So just keep in mind that you need both. Now, from here, let's go ahead and add in a 2D scene, and let's make sure that we have our scene actually built. And I'm going to save it and just call it Node 2D because I'm lazy. And then we're going to go to Project, Export, add in our Android export, and then we are going to go ahead and make sure we turn on our speech to text add-on. So let's go ahead and click on, and you'll see that we have a error here that says, hey, you need to use custom build. So let's go ahead and turn that on as well. Now that we have both of those, the speech to text add-on requires the microphone permission to be used because it needs to get your voice so you can actually, use the add-on. So we're going to go down and find access to microphone, I believe it's called, or capture microphone. Let's see. Change network state. Record audio. So it's the record audio permission. So go ahead and turn that on. So that way we have that permission. And it's always a good idea to make sure that you have all of your permissions set up before you start coding, because it can get real funky if you don't do it that way. Something that I've noticed is sometimes if you install an application and you don't set up all the permissions it needs beforehand, sometimes Android will just auto deny permissions, and then you're sitting here wondering why it's broken. And that's just something to keep in mind. And you'd have to go into your Android settings and turn on the permissions manually. So go ahead and click close. And then let's go ahead and right click our Node 2D, add in a child node, and then let's go ahead and add in a button. All right, now let's make the button nice and big because we're going to be using a touch screen here. And let's call this listen. And then let's go ahead and add in another child node, and let's add in if I remember correctly, it's called a text edit node. And we're going to go ahead and make this nice and big, put it right underneath there. And we're going to basically drop our text in here after the person's done speaking. And we need one last button, which is the stop button. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this, drag it down, and call it stop. And then we will change the name of our buttons. All right, now we actually could add a third button if we'd like, and actually we might as well, so that way we can show you that one as well. And this is just get output, and basically the first one allows you to listen, the second one allows you to stop listening, and the third one grabs the output after you're done listening. Now there is a signal that gets fired off that does this, so that way we don't need to get the output, but in case we want to get the output later, we can. So that's kind of the advantage here. So we're going to go ahead and right click on our Node 2D. We're going to attach a script and just call it STT Manager. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and connect our signals. So node button down, Node 2D stop, button down, Node 2D stop 2, which we have to rename. And we will go ahead and do on button down. There we are. And from here, we can go ahead and start coding. So the nice thing about this add-on is it's very simple. All you need to do is you need to go ahead and come up to your ready. You can go ahead and say, hey, if engine.has_singleton, and then you need to give it a name of that singleton. Now we can find that out by going project, export, and then going up to our add-on And then if we hover over that add-on, once I get there, you'll see that there is a property called speech to text, and that's how you know the name of your add-on. So go ahead and hit close, and we will type speech to text, and then we'll go ahead and hit colon. And what we should do is we should create a variable up here, and we'll just say STT, and we'll say, hey, STT is equal to engine.getSingleton, quote, speech to text. Now it's going to go ahead and pull back that singleton. And then we have a couple options here. Now in my case, I'm going to set my language here. So we'll go ahead and say stt.set language, and then I'm going to set it to English. Now you can use whatever country code you'd like, and I'll leave a link in the description below that'll give you all the different country codes and different language codes that you can use. Then we need to go ahead and connect a signal for our speech to text. Now we have two signals in our speech to text add-on. So if we hit stt.connect, and then we can go ahead and connect a couple of signals here. We have two of them. We have listening completed and error. So we'll go ahead and connect error. And we'll say comma, self, comma, and we'll go ahead and create a method. So underscore on underscore error. And then we'll also do the same thing, stt.connect. Listening completed, comma, self, comma, and I will go ahead and pass in another method here, on underscore, and I'll just grab this, listening completed, so that way we have ourselves a nice little thing here. So now I'm going to go ahead and create those functions. So Control C, come down here, and go func on listening completed, and it takes in a single value. So we'll go ahead and say args in our case. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, once our listening is completed, it's going to pass back whatever the user said. So what we'll do is we'll say $ textEdit.text is equal to args. And we're going to want to make sure we cast that as a string just in case it comes back as a string, but I want to make sure that it's a string just so that we have ourselves some data here. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and create our on error. Now this one should never get fired unless something's wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and do that, and it will actually pass back an error code. And from here you can actually go ahead and debug when you get your error codes. So in our case, I'm just going to say print error space plus error code. And that'll just give us back our little error code, and there we go. So now we have our listen button down, our stop button down, and our get output button down here. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and say stt.listen. Then we come down here, stt.stop, and we're going to go ahead and do our get output, stt.get words, and get words is going to return a string. So we're going to say var words is equal to stt.getWords, and we'll go ahead and change our text edit. And actually, I don't think it would be a good idea to do it that way. Let's go ahead and grab our text edit. Let's make it a little smaller. Let's duplicate it real quick, and let's just move it over so that way we can see that they both get it, because the signal will get fired, and then if we click get output, it's just going to replace the words that already exist, right? So let's just use a different text edit. So text edit 2.text is equal to words. There we go. And that should be pretty much it. Now, I would suggest that you go ahead and make this a value outside of the function. So something like, hey, you know, a button that you can set, or a text box or something like that that you could set. But really, this is all we need to do to do speech to text in Godot. So let me go ahead and grab my phone and I'll plug it in and we can go ahead and take it for a spin. All right, so I've got my phone connected here and let's go ahead and you'll see up here on the upper right hand corner, I have a little Android icon. Now, if you don't have this Android icon, it's because you do not have USB debugging enabled on your Android phone. And you'll need to enable that if you want USB debugging on your phone. So make sure you guys check out a tutorial on that. It's on my list of things to do. I'll get it done as soon as I can. But just know that if you want this little Android icon, that's how you would do it. If you don't have that, you can just go to Project, Export, and export your project into an APK and then install it manually on your phone by just transferring it over and installing it. Now, in my case, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the little Android icon. So let me go ahead and click on that. And you will see that, hey, no main scene was ever defined. So let's go ahead and select our scene and let's go ahead and let that export. And I will be right back. Okay, so now that we have the app open, let's go ahead and click on listen. And you'll see the app just crashed. Well, why did it crash? Well, if we go and type in CMD and we open up a command prompt and we type ADB logcat-s Godot, let's take a look at it. Well, it doesn't look like it's a problem with Godot, so that's interesting. So let's go ahead and type ADB logcat and let's see what is going on here. So you'll see it's going to output a bunch of text here. I'm going to copy it all by hitting Control A, Control C, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste this. And this is just a big old text document here of a log. So I'm going to change my type down here on the bottom right. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me pull this up a tiny bit and type log, and that'll change this to a log type. And then let's go ahead and hit Control F and go Godot. And you'll see I got a bunch of Godot because I do a lot of testing with Godot, but we'll go ahead and go down to our bottom and we will go up. Process has died. It's been disposed. Godot engine. And then you'll see that we have a fatal exception in main. An error has occurred. Caller does not have permission for Android permission to record audio. So, how do we fix that? Well, interestingly enough, the only way to fix this issue is to use the os.requestPermission. And it's really funny because it's really only used to request for the record audio permission in Android. So let's go ahead and go back to our Godot project and we'll go up here and hit type os.requestPermission. And our name is going to be record audio. So we'll go ahead and type record _ audio. Let's go ahead and see if that works. So we're going to go ahead and fire this off and let's see what it does. Now you'll see that it pops up and says, hey, do you want it to record audio? And go, yeah, while using this app, sure. Now we can go ahead and hit listen and it's going to go ahead and listen. If we hit stop, it has crashed, which is not a good sign. So let's see why it crashed. Let's Control A, Control C, Control A, Control V, and then let's go to the bottom and let's see what's going on. It's died, and then we got this, an illegal invalid type argument. Should be of type string. Invalid type argument. So we've got an invalid type argument here. And let's take a look at our code. We're setting our language properly. We connected our stuff. That all worked. So let's go ahead and... Okay, so I figured out what the issue is. It turns out that if you run this project and you get a speech error where the speech API can't recognize your voice or recognize the words you're trying to say, it'll throw an error. And when it threw its error, we weren't passing back a string value of error here. So because the plugin was not designed to handle string returns, it was passing back an integer instead of a string, it was causing the entire plugin to crash. So I've fixed the issue, and I've added in some other things like offline recognition and things like that to help fix some of the instability that people have been running into. Now, there is a PR currently out for it, but if you guys pull down either my branch or pull down the release that I linked in the description below, then you guys will not run into this issue. Now, I've also added in a couple of print statements here, though I don't think that's going to actually change how this works, but I thought I'd let you guys know that I did add a few print statements in here just so I could see what it was when I was debugging. But let's go ahead and try it out. Let's see what it does. All right, so we've got the project started. Let's go ahead and hit listen. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and hit stop. And you'll see that now we have our test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. We can actually click get output and it'll pull back that data as well. So it actually does both. So that way we can pull back the data later if we need to, or we can pull it back immediately. Now I know some people were asking, how could we use this to actually make almost like a command system? Well, what you could do if you really want to do something like that is obviously you don't want them to hit 2 buttons, right? So what we could do is instead we could say on button down, listen, right? And on button up, stop, right? So we could actually just run this little bit here, and then let's paste that in here. And if done correctly, it should allow me to go ahead and fire this off just by pressing and holding and then letting up. Let me see if that works. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, and you'll see that it works. So that's another way that you could do this, and it would be a good way to do a voice command. So if you were to say something like move left, you'll see that it fires off move left. So this would be a really cool way to create like a cool interaction to allow the user to command almost like units or something like that. But that's all I have for you guys today. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Hey, you know, if you dislike this video, go ahead and hit that dislike button because I am here to make content for you guys. Now, this video was a viewer suggestion, and as with all of my videos, I take your guys' suggestions very seriously. So if you have any suggestions, go ahead and throw them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to get to them. You know, I'm still working on that Silent Wolf tutorial, and, you know, it's a really cool add-on that somebody requested. So please give me requests if you guys want me to make specific content. And hey, if you guys have any questions about this or any problems, hit me up in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Or you can go ahead and hit me up on the Discord. Link is in the description. And I'm sure any of the guys there will help you guys out. But that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thanks.